It's gone from bad to worse for the New Orleans Saints. It just got reported that Derek Carr is going to miss multiple games. We'll talk about the injury and who should start at quarterback in his absence right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglin. As always, we're brought to you by Scott Fickner. Injury lawyers have been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore. Scott Fickner handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. This is just starting to get out of hand for the Saints, man. Injuries have ravaged this season. Obviously, there's other factors for why they've gone from 2-0 to 2-3 and staring potentially 2-4 in the face, but injuries have no doubt played a big role, and now you suffer an injury to your most important position, which is quarterback. Derek Carr left the Chiefs game early last night. Some people were wondering if it was a legit injury. Then you find out it's an oblique injury, and now, moments ago, we find out from NFL Network that Derek Carr is expected to miss multiple games with the oblique injury that he suffered. And for the Saints, it's a no-brainer that he'll miss at least two because you got the Sunday game against the Bucs, which is a short week because you played on Monday night. And then you got another short week because after that Sunday game against the Bucs, you play the Denver Broncos on Thursday night. So back-to-back short weeks. You got 2 games in 9 days. The odds of him actually playing, slim to none, in my opinion. And then it comes down to, will he be ready after those 2 games? So this is a brutal injury. You can say whatever you want about Derek Carr. The truth of the matter is, right now in the moment, he is the best quarterback on the roster. Jake Haener is unproven. Spencer Rattler's unproven. So losing him is definitely going to hurt. I don't think that Derek Carr's injury is a blessing in disguise. I think it would be crazy to think that way. And I actually think if you are high on the younger quarterbacks of the Saints, you feel like they could be the future, then this injury probably does hurt because Derek Carr is not the guy, being in the line of fire, dealing with these tough assignments while the other guys learn and develop. So it stinks that Carr is going to miss time. Hopefully it's not a huge absence for him, but oblique injuries can be very tricky. And it seems like the Saints are making sure they hold him out of action as opposed to letting Derek Carr just decide if he feels like he's ready. And we saw last year Carr play through a lot of injuries. So we'll see what happens. Obviously wish him well and wish him a speedy recovery, but at least 2 games for the Saints that he misses. Obviously that's going to affect, how they're viewed into those games. I thought they would have been favored against the Broncos. Now I'm not so sure. Bucs will probably be favored going into the Dome. And then after that, you have a little bit of an extended break. You got 10 days off till you play the Chargers, and then you got the Panthers after, but you're not getting to that bye week till late November. So who knows? Maybe it's longer than 2 games for Derek Carr. And whether it's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, the question becomes who should start for the New Orleans Saints. And before I give my thoughts on that, I just want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, Scott Fickner.
And Jonathan Williams brings it all the way back from the 20-yard line.
What a terrific way to end the first half.
And tonight's game is brought to you by Scott Fickner Injury Attorneys. They always fight for the win.
You mean attorney? It's one lawyer. Scott Fickner?
No, there's 2.
Brad Scott and David Fickner.
Well, it's confusing.
That it is. They could have picked a better name.
Scott Fickner, Injury Attorneys, we fight for the win.
Once again, thank you to Scott Fickner for being part of the program. So let's talk about who should start now that Derek Carr is going to miss multiple games. I think it's a pretty tough answer. I know everyone's going to say, no, it's an easy answer. You start Spencer Rattler. I think you start the quarterback based on 2 things. A, which one do you believe is the most ready? That's the no-brainer part. But I think there's a second factor to this. If the Saints really feel like, let's say, Spencer Rattler could be their guy after this season, if you feel that way and you're really worried about your O-line, do you throw him out there? Because this O-line is not good, and that's the nicest way I can put it. It's a really bad unit right now. Maybe if Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz come back, we feel a little bit differently about it, but it's not a good O-line right now. And if you want to throw a rookie into the fire when you're really confident in them, you could view it as a bad way. On the flip side, I can totally view people saying, well, if you trust Spencer Rattler and you think he could be the guy, what better way for him to prove it than to go into this situation and thrive? And if he does that, then obviously your confidence shoots up. And I'll give you that. But there is that hesitancy of, hey, what happens if you put him in there and all of a sudden all the good things he built and all the development you had with him in the summer, that gets derailed by him just getting hit nonstop by these first-team defensive players, which he didn't face in the preseason. So that is my concern. That being said, I would be starting, without a doubt, Spencer Rattler. I think that he just gives them so much more flexibility, so much more upside. The deep passing game would be there. So that's why I would go with him. And I think for New Orleans, the way they've run their offense this season, we've seen so many deep shots taken down the field with Derek Carr. I think Rattler can still continue that for them as long as he has time in the pocket. I think mobility-wise, him and Jake are both going to give you mobility, being able to run out and make throws on the run. So that part's kind of equal in my opinion. But I just feel like the upside is there. And I'm at the point with the Saints where it's kind of like you got to go for broke here. Like, you're 2-3. If you lose Sunday against the Buccaneers and you're 2-4, you are going into that Thursday night game saying, hey, if we lose this one, people are losing their jobs. So I think you got to say to hell with your concerns about, someone's progress and what they could be, and say, who do we think is the better option, point blank period. And I think that gets you to Spencer Rattler. And again, I know they've raved about Jake Haener in practice. I know Jake Haener got to play yesterday when Carr went down, but just remember that time Breeze went down, Winston came to fill in, and then Taysom Hill started the weeks after with the prep. So just because Haener played on Monday doesn't mean he's going to start on Sunday. And I think for Spencer, regardless of what's being said about what happened in practice, we all watched the preseason games. And for the most part, it was a close race. But the final game of the preseason, Spencer Rattler was significantly better than Jake Haener. Granted, it's just preseason against second and third stringers, but you can't watch that and not be intrigued by his potential. So we'll see what New Orleans does. It has been reported that Spencer Rattler, in quotes, is a strong candidate to start during Carr's absence, but there's no guarantee that'll happen yet. I kind of feel like that's where it's leaning. And man, rookie quarterback against Todd Bowles' defense, that's a tough assignment. We saw earlier this year, Jaden Daniels' only bad game this season was week 1 against Todd Bowles' defense. And now it wasn't like a horrible game from Jaden, but compared to the rest that we've seen from the rookie, it was underwhelming. So that is a tough ask for Spencer Rattler if he starts on Sunday. But I do think it would kind of give the Saints some excitement in terms of what this kid can do. Jake just has the feel of a backup. Spencer might not even be a backup, but you feel like there is the talent there for him to be a starting quarterback if things go well. And obviously, he might get his chance this Sunday. So we'll see what happens. But from bad to worse for the Saints, Carr misses multiple games. Now we got to see who starts in his absence. I'd love to know what you guys think though. So let me know in the comment sections. I'd imagine you guys are going to be mainly rooting for Rattler to replace Carr, not Jake Haener. But obviously, let me know, and I'd love to see what you guys say in the comment section below. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.